sports brains, young and older. Thank you for choosing our miniature webisode. My name is Ed, and I brought with me one suave soul, the future Richard Maspero Elegance.
How are you doing?
All right, thanks. Radiant, how are you?
Not good, thank you.
Despite the weather.
Yeah, it's a little unpleasant today, but what can you do?
Thank God there are no South African derbies this weekend. About as inspiring as a senile nun walking a poodle through Westcliff. They are horrendous.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an interesting one yet. The Stormers are playing the Blues this weekend. You saw the Blues at Loftus last week, where they got one over the Bulls. So of course, have looked the strongest South African competitors so far. What do you make of this game this week?
Well, first of all, it was a waste of money and time and effort to go through to Loftus last week to watch what was an insipid game and an even more insipid performance by the Bulls. Really disappointed in them. I thought they were absolutely average. But this week I'm hoping that the Blues managed to coax a reasonable performance out of the Stormers. I think the Stormers are one of the few South African teams who are showing enterprise. And the Blues are an exciting attacking side, and hopefully that brings out the best in the Stormers.
Now, they're missing Rene Ranger this week, of course. Firstly, you thought that was a bit of an innocuous tackle. I disagree. I thought that there was intent there. Why do you think it was innocuous?
I'm not sure it was innocuous, but I'm giving Rene Ranger the benefit of the doubt, saying that he was making an effort to knock the ball out of Basson's hands.
I just used the word innocuous in totally the wrong context there. That's retarded. I'll give myself a slap on the wrist. Pat Lam is wary of the Stormers forwards. We all know that the Stormers love to play a very physical game, but can we please just play some enterprising stuff? I'm so tired of the South African guys refusing to play the ball in their own half, kicking, attacking the first receiver, forcing the penalty and kicking 3 points. Can we score some tries this week?
It would be nice if we saw a couple of them. That's why I'm optimistic about the Stormers. I think against a side that likes to attack and likes to run the ball and give it a bit of air, I think we might see some tries in that game. For the rest, I'm not convinced about. I think all the South African sides are playing pretty dull rugby at the moment, and it's just compounded when you have South African side against South African side. You're going to get dull rugby.
Likewise, the Australian stuff is pretty boring as well. But the New Zealand sides seem to have got the balance right. It's like there's a gentleman's agreement before the game. It's like, we're not going to try and stifle you. We're just going to run in tries. Do you want to play that kind of rugby? And they shake hands and they go, yeah, let's play that kind of rugby. Interesting game this week. Peter Grant and Jean de Villiers, the 10-12 axis. Do they get the best out of the players sort of alongside them? The Gio Aplons and the Brian Banners, of course the Yuan de Jongs?
No, I think there's a potential that they can get the best out of them, but they're just not doing it at the moment. And we spoke before about it being early days, and I think that is one of the biggest problems we're seeing with South African sides is they've not really hit the ground running. They've done enough to get a win in a couple of the games, but they're not really up and running as they should be. And I think as the season goes on, we'll see a bit better play from them, and I think we'll see, hopefully, the outside backs coming into play a little bit more than we're seeing at the moment. But for now, it's pretty drab, and I don't think that the outside backs are really the starring players that they should be.
So you're expecting an open game on Friday?
I'm hoping for an open game. Whether it is or isn't is debatable, but I honestly think that out of the South African sides, the Stormers are one of the few sides that do actually show intent to give the ball a bit of air, and they do have the attacking options to make it an entertaining game. Whether they do that or they just shut up shop and make sure of a win against another attacking side, debatable. I'm hoping for a running game.
And we're looking forward to seeing Sia Khaleesi play as well. He's looked sort of the shining light so far as Stormers rugby. So you're going for Stormers by?
Not by much. 7 points. Let's make it a converted try.
I would agree with that. Nice round number there as well. All right, Chiefs Brumbies. Okay, Chiefs have looked pretty good, pretty balanced, which is surprising because they haven't in the past. Of course, the 2009 finalists. Where do you see that one going? The Brumbies well organised, but not particularly inspiring. The Chiefs looking, a decent shout for that game, I would say.
I'd
at home,
definitely
especially.
say Chiefs. Yeah, I think the Brumbies were slightly lucky to get away with the win last week. Against the Cheetahs, debatable penalty as well in the dying minutes of the game. Cheetahs probably could have snuck that one. I don't think the Brumbies have the firepower to pull it off against the Chiefs, but you never know. We've seen a couple of surprise results, and maybe the Brumbies click this week.
Chiefs by 9, I'm going. Hurricanes, Highlanders. Highlanders by 6. I think the Highlanders have looked a pretty good side so far. True grit carrying them through. Do you think that will be enough again this week?
Yeah, I think so. They've done enough to win games, not really inspired a whole hell of a lot of confidence out of the games that they have played, but yeah, I think they'll do enough to win this week.
Tars Force, of course we know the Tars pretty physical, the Force pretty feeble and brittle.
Rubbish.
15 points in favour of the Waratahs.
Yeah, easily.
In Sydney.
Yeah, I think the Waratahs a bit unlucky to lose last week, but I think they'll bounce back this week and put in a good performance.
The Sharks, of course, getting their first win at home last week. It was untidy again, pretty ill-disciplined. Bismarck WC not having a great time of things at the moment, giving away a lot of penalties. The Reds come into this game with good synergy in the forwards and they're grinding out wins. you think they're going to get over the Sharks at home?
I think so. Let's put it in perspective. The Sharks were playing the Lions last week, and defence has never really been a high priority for the Lions. So not surprised to see them score a good couple of tries there. Not surprised that they are playing a brand of rugby that I suppose does lend itself to a victory over the Lions. But no, I think this week the Reds, even though they are touring, I think they'll probably get one over the Sharks.
I think Ian Mackenzie's side looks pretty balanced again this season, despite Quade Cooper, of course, not being there. And finally, the Rebels Cheetahs. The sort of battle of the wooden spoonists, I would have said in this one. The Cheetahs are kind of the nearly men of South African rugby. They always have been. They went down last week. Ill-disciplined in scrum time again by the Cheetahs, getting knocked over at the end, not taking their chances. I'm going Rebels this week. I think the Rebels at home will actually beat the Cheetahs.
It's so tough to call this one. It really is. I don't know.
You needed to use your shirt, yeah?
I did. I was warned about opening these a little earlier on, and yeah, they're not easy to open. I don't know. I might put it out there and say possibly Cheetahs. I think they'll be out to prove a point after last week. I mean, so close to a victory over the Brumbies. I don't know. Both fairly average sides, but I'm going to go with the South African unit for this one.
Rebels for me, Cheetahs for Richard. Whether you're watching the FA Cup, the Six Nations, of course, the Andalusia Open, or the Australian Grand Prix, because that kicks off this weekend. The best of luck with a bet, the best of luck in front of your TV set. We'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Cheers.